places down in Georgia that I saw, they used beagles to hunt bears with.
Wow.
Little bitty beagles. And they were afraid of them.
Oh,
The
Meeting
beagles are true.
will come to order.
Whoa, excuse the hell out of me. I didn't hear that.
She'll have
did you
to.
want to change any place in the put them next to Jack so we can present together?
No, as long as you're gonna keep it decent.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any public comment?
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Minutes of the last meeting, motion to accept. So moved.
He wasn't
You have
here.
a second?
Just can share.
Okay, great,
Okay.
thanks.
I wasn't there.
It's like in school.
I thought they were great things, except they might not
Second.
relate to what actually happened. They were just great.
They related to what happened, yeah.
Share with the next guy. This is
Okay, all in favor?
Okay.
Aye. Do we have any 20D exemption?
We do not.
That's all yours. That's all
Okay,
yours.
we have Steve Karkowski and Jack Cadwell to discuss a proposed energy agreement between Warwick and the Pioneer Valley Regional School District.
You good?
Indian River.
I don't know.
So, have you, any of you, I know David sent those things out on the
Yeah.
computer, have you viewed it all, are you up on it a little bit, or you know what the issues are?
Yeah, I do, but
Okay,
on your explanation, so I understand what you're saying under the problem, but the solution I'm not quite clear.
okay,
Could you just explain that a little?
sure. So, the solution would be for every single town in the district to come to an agreement about what they want to do about how they can do energy savings and get that money back immediately through energy payback. And every single town is gonna have to agree to the agreement, and then the thing that all the towns sign will then go to the district school committee. They'll take a look at it, I'm sure they're gonna bring it to the lawyer, and he'll have to sign up, he'll have to make it so it's legal, and then he'll have to come back, the district will have to sign it, as well as all 4 towns. So, I don't know what version you have, I think you have the most current version, I think it's 6 so far.
It doesn't say. I have
Yes, it does.
6F.
Yeah, 6F is the correct version, that's the most recent one. It says it in a couple different places. One here on the second top, it says, second line down, let it go gentle step. Oh, you have 5F, okay, so
I have 5F.
you don't have the most current one. And the difference between 5 and 6 is, oh, I don't have my computer here.
But the problem solution goal are the same.
It's still, it's very, very similar. Rick Abbott made a suggestion about putting, actually, his idea to put the goal in at the top of every single page was, I put that in, that was one thing that I changed. The other thing is on 6F, one of the changes was it said district instead of appropriate town, very small changes. And in fact, if and when you decide to sign it, I'm sure there's gonna be other iterations. I'm hoping that we can actually get this through all of the towns in the district with only changing it 30 times. That's what I'm anticipating, that's how much work it's gonna be, but I'm prepared to do
Good
that.
luck with that.
Yes, thank you very much. So if I can only change it 30 times, I'd be very happy. So the idea is that the town of Warwick can do we're doing energy upgrade, let's say it's for $1,000. We're gonna insulate the building for $1,000. Normally, we would get, let's just say that we would save $100 on fuel. We can actually have that verified. It's easily verified through this district. Normally, we would, if we saved $100, we would normally only get $10 of that back. So the return on investment would actually be 100 years, right? $10 a year for $1,000. And if the Building Energy Committee ever went to the town and said, we want to do an installation job and return on investment is 100 years, I think a person would be nuts to have to sign off on that. You know, I couldn't do that. You know, that'd be crazy. But if you could say it was 10 years, and if we were to get all that money back, that'd be different. So what we're proposing is that the district pays all of the energy money that we save, that the district saves by that first year, we'd save $100. They pay us back all the money until our first $1,000, until our $1,000 is paid back, along with any interest that we had to borrow that money. Suppose it was $1,100. It would take 11 years for that to pay back, and that's all verifiable. On the 12th year, that $100 would then go back to all the district towns, and then we would get 10% of that. Northfield would get 40, Burton, et cetera. So that's kind of, I don't know if that, I think that answers your question.
Yeah,
Is that,
yeah.
okay. And I can talk about, I can just talk about it in general, or I can just ask questions however you feel like you'd like to run it, so. And Jack can also, Jack actually wrote the very front page, so.
Where this is coming from is from the Building and Energy Committees. What we've been doing is doing projects around town over the past however many years. And what we've tried to do with each one is go through it ourselves as if we were presenting it to town meeting, saying, what's the payback on this? And make it so that if town meeting ever actually discussed it, it would be a no-brainer. Of course there'll be a payback. But then when we got to the school, there were these big projects to do that, like re-insulating the building envelope and sealing the building envelope. Basically, Bill did a lot of work on that. That wasn't done when it was built, or that got messed up when there was a sprinkler system put in, or like the 4 foot by 4 foot hole in the ceiling. You know, they were the easy things to do, but when we got to, after we did the audit, to save real energy, we needed to put some real money into it. And it didn't seem fair to the town to ask the town to subsidize other towns' energy bills. Basically, that's what it came down to. That's what we would have been asking the town meeting to do, and we didn't do it.
On top of which the other towns would be making out like bandits compared to what they're having to pay now.
Have you spoken to any of the other towns?
I've spoken with the town of Northfield. Janice and I went over twice in the last year and a half. The building, we know people on the Building and Energy Committee, and they said, well, somebody's got to do this, but no one really wanted to go by the horns and do it. We've actually gone to the district and talked to them twice in the last 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And they were very cool to the idea, because they're saying, oh, we're gonna have to change the district agreement like it's a unbelievable thing, and that's why I wrote down it's not to change the district agreement. Maybe it will be, I don't really know.
Constitutional amendment, huh?
Yeah, well, I just made another agreement, and I don't know how legally how this is all gonna happen, but I think if we can write 90% of it, and if all the towns agree on the exact same document, that's a tremendous amount of work that's been done. But,
I think-
and then they'll say, oh, well, we'll just make it however it's gonna be legal. So that's why, you know, by signing it, it's sort of like a letter of intent to say, yeah, in principle, we agree with it, and if it was to go through just like this, you could hand this document off. There'll be other iterations, but maybe there won't, and we can hand it off to the Pioneer Valley District. I also wanted to show you, I have a copy of 6F, that's a more current version, if you'd like. I have 2 copies. And also, the very first 3 pages shows the Gill Montague District. That is a legal document, that is what they signed. That's what we fashioned the
Did
next.
that go through town meeting, do you know?
I don't know that, I don't think so. I don't think so. I can find that out.
Well, if we didn't have to go through town meeting, it makes it a lot simpler.
Yeah. So the first 3 pages are basically Gill, just so that you can compare things. That's the Gill Montague document. All the changes that were made to this particular document are all documented over in the right-hand corner here. That's the second document. It's all highlighted in red. All the changes are done here. Sometimes you can't read them, but I have it on the computer. If you want to see every single change of a period, of a space, whatever we deleted or we erased or whatever, that's all on the computer. That's another whole thing I had to print out, but I didn't think it was quite needed. And then the last, or the next 3 or 4 pages is actually, all that is, after you get past all the red, is this document right here, is the red document, just printed out black.
Okay.
And then the very last page is what we're trying to get, different, town, like the finance committee, and the building and energy committee, and the town of Warwick, the selectmen to sign that off. So my idea was that we get these 3 committees signed off if we can, and then go over to Northfield and do the same thing, go to Leiden and go to Burston, or however that works out. So far, the building and energy committee, 5 of our 6 members have signed off on 4F. So it was already, and that was just like 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, I think it was. And so there's already been 2 changes, 2 document changes since then. So we're actually going to have to go back and get them to sign off on 6F eventually. And then the very last document just shows that if you were to sign it, you are actually signing 6F at the very top.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be as open as possible, so we can say, well, that didn't say that in the document, you know, and so.
Don't be paranoid, Steve.
Yeah, well, I'm sure when we get over Northfield and Burniston and Leiden, it's gonna be tougher.
I'm pretty sure
So,
you're right,
Yeah,
but
it'll be tougher.
I have to say, I am prepared to sign it today. How about you?
I'm waiting for our resident attorney to make any comments.
Another change, I think, that was actually critical, which was different between 5, could I just see 5 for a minute? Yeah, so one of the big changes that I kind of decided to change for 5, it says the town of Warwick. And if you flip to the very, if you keep going, you see that we put down the town of Leiden, town of Burniston, town of all the 4 towns? Because what I was doing on my computer was having 4 sets of documents, 4 different sets of documents, one for Leiden, one for Burniston, and I said, this is nuts, I'll just put them all at the top. So, and that way there, actually, I think it makes a stronger document, because everybody's signing off on the same thing, and it also shows that everybody's available. I mean, if we sign it and we do absolutely nothing, and Northfield does, you know, they can say they do a $100,000 project, and in 10 years it's paid off, we're gonna get the savings, we don't have to do anything. So that's why it says it's really a win-win situation, even if we do nothing.
How were you received by the Northfield Building and Energy?
They, I know a couple of 2 or 3 of the people personally, and they're all for it. Yeah.
Do you have any idea how their select board feels?
I do not. No.
Have you spoken to Burniston?
No. I have already met with our finance committee. Well, I haven't met with the finance committee. I've met with them individually because they don't like to, you know, this is not their season to meet. They're like done meeting. But I've already spoke with Rick Abbott individually on Sunday. I spoke with Eric Engman and Kevin Alden. And I think they didn't indicate whether they would sign or not, but it felt pretty positive, and I won't know until we actually have a meeting with them. I'm meeting with Bill Foote and I hope Kelly tomorrow night. So I will have at least started the ball rolling.
David, do you have any comments? Have you read?
Yes. Well, the tactic that the district uses, which is force 40 people into a room and try to move things forward, is sort of attractive, but Steve is willing to work this iteratively again and again and again. Big undertaking, but probably a better way to fly. So I think ultimately proving that these savings actually obtained is the important thing. And the other thing working against this, and I was misunderstanding this from some school committee or town finance committee members in other towns that I've spoken to. They said, oh, we'll never see the savings. We'll never see the savings was a mantra. What I finally figured out that meant was, it wasn't that they doubted that we would save money on energy. It was that the town would never see the savings because the school would find another way to soak up the money.
Oh, I'm
So
sure they're-
that's in the background. So when you hear that, think it took me months to drill down and figure out that that's what it meant. I was ripping my hair out saying, no, this can be proven. You know, we will save money because we will use less energy. We can use degree days, and if you don't trust us to make the calculations, there are third parties who can do it. There are third parties who will guarantee it.
It may, one thing comes up when you say that, they don't see the savings that the district might, I mean, energy costs just go up. They go up at a 9, electricity goes up on the average for the last 7 years at a 9% escalation. So we're paying almost 10% every single year more for electricity per kilowatt hour. And it may be that we won't see any money saved, but we won't see an increase.
Right.
I mean, that's.
Savings may be that we don't have to pay in the future.
Yeah, so, and
Have you had an attorney look at this?
no, no.
I wonder if we could put something in this agreement that would prevent soaking up the district soaking up the savings.
The district can always charge us more for something,
So that's,
so it's pretty useful.
They have a great deal of autonomy. We get to say, we get to say how much we're voting, and if member towns agree with us, we can say how much we're voting. We can't say what money's used for. And now we've learned that they can incur debt without any action on our part. Our only role is to block it. So I think there's going to be a lot of incentive, though, by the district. What happened at town meeting the other night is unsustainable in this town. They've got to find some ways to deliver services more affordably and make changes in the future, because there's going to be a taxpayer revolt.
Nick, do you have any questions or?
Yeah, how is the baseline established?
How is what?
How is the baseline established?
The baseline is established the same way that the energy savings is established, which is Janice has been tracking energy use, electricity in our town, electricity and heating oil consumption for every single building in this town for the last 7 years. And she gets that information from the district. They get all the information because they pay all the bills. So we know exactly how much electricity is used in any building, including the school, and we know exactly how much fuel they use to heat. It doesn't say in the document that the baseline is gonna be based on 3 years. We'll probably just, I haven't figured, that's not in the document, I haven't figured that one out. It wasn't in the Gil Montague document about how it would be done. But my guess is that we could write that in, or just base it on the year that it gets, the year that we all sign off on it. And it doesn't, in a way, it doesn't really matter, to me anyways. I don't think it really matters, because all the schools are gonna be signing all the same agreement. So if we save money, if it's an inflated number on the first year, or a smaller number, let's suppose we heat the school, it's way too hot, we heated it way too hot this year, and so the numbers would actually be inflated, and we just bring the money, then the next year we cool it down. We might get paid back sooner than we think, but eventually the district will also, after we get paid back, we get back sooner than we're supposed to get paid back, all the savings is gonna go back to the district anyways. So it's a win-win. That's how I would answer that.
Doesn't the baseline depend upon the outside conditions, the weather conditions in the baseline year?
Yes, it's called degree days. So the degree days are very easy to find. You can find them on the internet. The closest place you can find them is down here in Orange for us. That information is, I think there's 256 different weather stations in the United States where you can find that stuff, as well as there are other radio stations that carry that information. We're about 6,500 to 7,200 degree days. And so if you want to compare 1 year to the next, and like this past year, everybody used a lot of fuel because there were degree days were up. That's just the way it was. So even if we don't save, and you can do it degree days adjustable, which is what the intent of it is. In other words, if we use say 1,000 gallons on a normal year, and we had to use 1,200 on a degree day year, because we know that on a high degree day year, we know that it's going to be that much extra. We can either say, gee, we're not gonna, unless you lower that from that regular year, then the payback will be longer. But if it's adjusted through degree days, and there are programs out there, energy programs, that can do all that stuff.
Can you
It's really
define-
it's quite a simple
For
calculation.
this ignorant person, can you define a degree day?
Yes, a degree day is, well, a degree day is every, let me see, every single day, which is 24 hours, which is one degree lower than 68 degrees when you're in a heating degree day. So if you have a day that is, say, at 66 degrees, you just created two degree days because you're 66 degrees, and they're assuming that you're going to heat that building up to 68 from 66. You've just agreed. So if you had a building that was if you had a day where it averaged 0 degrees, you just created 68 degree days. And the same thing with cooling. They've set it on 74 degrees, so that's the windows. That's based on 72, and it's 4 degrees lower and 4 degrees higher.
What
It's
if the
78.
wind blows?
You know, it's
If the wind blows, I'm sure there's a calculation out there, but that's not why people normally do it if the wind blows, if it doesn't blow.
Just go by the temperature, basically.
Yes.
As far as the model goes, it's been used a lot. And do you remember when Siemens Company came here to set up an energy services company
Right.
running the town hall? Basically, they were going to replace the boiler and do a few other things and run the building from Waltham and save us energy and keep the money.
Well, if you've got a
But basically,
if
they were
you've
using the
got
same
a
degree day.
calculation based on degree days, do you ever verify that calculation against actual?
Does it really matter, though? I mean, if it's colder out this winter than last, I just don't think it would matter to the calculation. Why would it matter?
I think my guess is that there are programs out there that take degree days. You put the numbers in, and it spits out a number. Now, engineers use that. They can do a manual J calculation. There's many different programs out there. In the old days, it was called the heat program. They can take that number, and they're very close. That's what engineers use. So, me personally, am I going to do that? No, I'm not going to do that to verify the numbers. I'm going to trust that those calculations, which are used all over the country, and there's probably some calculations that are used all over the world, and they know that they are probably within a certain percentage. You know, some years they're off, depending on how windy it is. If it's a real windy year,
Yeah.
maybe it's going to be a little colder. You're going to use a little more fuel, or if it's some other parameter that might fluctuate. So that wasn't in there to delve down into that you know.
How
degree
many
to go down.
baseline years?
We haven't decided. If you want us to write that in there, we certainly can.
I think something has to be written in.
Okay.
Because the word baseline appears in this agreement at one point. And it
what-
says the town maintaining certain baseline parameters.
You're not looking at the correct document.
I'm sorry?
I believe you are looking at. Yeah, you're looking at the agreement between Gil Montague.
Right.
So that's not our agreement. Now, that may be, what line are you on, Nick? So you're on
On
number
page
7.
2.
Okay, you're on number 7. Now, that may be in here. I don't know, I don't have the thing. Let's just go to page 7. It may be in here, I'm not sure.
Oh.
I don't know if I changed it or not, I can't remember. So is there anything changed here? Is it in it? Oh, there's 7 down here. Is it still in this one? What you were referring to?
This is paragraph 7.
7, right.
The verified savings are contingent upon the town maintaining certain baseline parameters and
Yes. Okay, so it is.
conducting proper, well, maintaining a certain baseline parameters. I don't know what that means.
Okay. So you want me to define that?
I'm sorry?
You want me to define it?
I want something defined so we know how the baseline
Okay,
is actually being calculated.
okay.
You know, I'd like to know what the number of years is, whether that's a really representative sample of years in the world, whether in fact, for instance, global warming is going to affect this. Maybe it's going to mean that the baseline years aren't representative of the years of operation of the agreement.
Well, I can understand that, you would want me to define baseline parameters. In other words, you say 1, 2, 3 years, right? I think that's what you're saying. You would like us to put that into the agreement?
And what the
'Cause
what the parameters are. That is, are we talking about we are
Nick,
yeah.
we're talking about zeroing stuff out. It's not.
I'm talking about whether this will work.
No, you're just getting into minutia. The fact of the matter is if heat loads double next year, we'll save twice as much as we would have if we hadn't, as long as we do this thing.
One has to get into minutia to find out whether it'll work.
Not at policy board.
Not at this meeting.
I
I can't sign something that I don't know.
I think it's premature to sign it. Obviously,
We're
one
not
attorney
asking
can
you
screw
to
this
sign
up.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to have council review this.
Why don't we start with Nick? We're gonna have to convince him first.
If you describe the
Can I-
baseline clearly, so that we knew the baseline years were representative years, and we knew that the calculations were being made in a rational way that has been established by a fairly long-term use of the procedure by Siemens or by somebody,
You do
I'd be satisfied.
Okay, I just want to point something out. You do understand that what you're presenting or what you're asking for is, if we define a baseline year parameter, let's suppose we define it as 3 years. Every single time a committee goes in front of the committee, they're gonna have to reach back 3 years and do all those calculations for every single project that they do. Because like if we did a project now, we would have to go back 3 years. If Northfield does a project next year, they would have to go back this year and also 2 years. But I mean, if that's if you think that's a good idea, I can certainly put that in there. 3 years, I guess. I would like to hear, what exactly do you want changed, so I don't come back, and if I don't come back next Monday or two weeks from now and say, okay, we think 3 years is good, but then you say, well, how do you know that? Well, I guess I'll have to have all the data together to show that the averages. If you went back 30 years, we can go back about 35 years and do all those calculations, and you'd probably narrow it down to a 1% deviation. If you went back 3 years, you'd probably narrow it down to a 5% deviation. All depends on how critical you really want it to be. But like David says, it really doesn't matter, because to me it doesn't matter, because all the towns are doing the same thing.
Steve,
We can all sign that
when is your
document.
next meeting?
Oh, we don't have one.
You don't have one
We don't have one
scheduled?
scheduled, no.
Could you schedule one with Nick so that you can get everything ironed out properly before we bring this up again?
Probably before I'm sorry.
Okay.
So that you and the committee can iron everything out before we vote on
Steve, does the whole committee want to be involved in this level, or would it be you,
No.
Jack, and Nick?
It's just Jack and myself.
it? Well, that
Pretty much,
would
pretty
be
much.
fine so far as I'm concerned.
Is that right?
Yeah, I don't know a lot about what you're talking about.
Okay.
If there's a practice out there, if there's a practice that has been used by multiple groups over
Right.
a period of multiple years,
Yep.
then say so, and I'll be satisfied with it.
Okay.
But
We'll do some homework.
Find out what the
Okay.
tech school used with their Siemens
Okay.
contract. It worked, it saves us money.
Okay.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
Just one other thing I'd like to toss out there is that don't be unwilling to consider capturing less than 100% of the savings. It might be what it takes to get towns who are, or folks who are suspicious of the model. If you could say, okay, we won't walk right up to the line and claim all 100% of the savings, share a little, something less than 100% so that the member towns will see some benefit immediately in the operating budget.
Could you give an example?
Well, you save $1 in energy, and you want to apply 100% of $1 to amortizing the cost of the energy savings. The model instead could say, we'll claim 75%. It takes longer to amortize it, but that other 25 cents is a reduced cost, which is as good as real money, in my view, to the district and its member towns in their operating budgets. So you don't have to allocate 100% to paying off the betterment. You could string it out a little longer and have the towns see the cost savings a little bit sooner, or at least a portion of them. I wouldn't lead with that, but I'd be open to it.
So that's a,
Yeah, in a way, it's the same thing as how accurate is the baseline. If you've got a baseline that is typically off by 20%, doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense to demand 100% of the.
I think to me where degree days come into play in a big way is actually verifying that the model is obtaining that, because if you do the betterments and you didn't see the savings in terms of gallons of fuel that you expected, but when you go to correct it by degree days, you can understand that, yeah, if we'd had last year's weather, we would have used fewer gallons, but because of the degree days, the savings were really in there, but we had a bigger heating load. So they test the model. I don't see them being that critical to the actual deal once you start to run it. It just serves as a check.
Maybe I wouldn't be surprised if the savings are so substantial that the details don't matter.
I think it will.
But that may not be true. So
The savings on putting programmable thermostats in here were just phenomenal.
yeah.
Okay.
so I have 2 action items for myself. I just want to make sure I have all my bases covered. Jack and I guess I'm going to meet with Nick. We're going to define what a baseline is. And the other one is I'm going to find out from Pat about the Gil Montague, whether it was actually brought in front of town meeting. And then I'll get back to you guys, and then you guys can take it.
Thank you.
So I'll probably see you again in 2 weeks.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, what this passage of the warrant article mean with respect to Selectboard oversight expenditure?
That item is on there by my action, and I would like, I think the board is going to need to pay closer attention than we have in the past. I've always reviewed these things every couple of weeks, and I have 3, so I'll be faking it or looking on with you. The first specific that comes to mind with me is that snow and ice on this report is showing a $42,000 deficit. I modeled a $24,000 deficit. If you look on page 2 under Public Works, you'll see the snow removal deficit right here of 40,000. The percentages next to those are worth noting. If you go to the previous page and you look at something, say my salary line, or you see that we're at 81% of the way through our budget. So when I look at the highway wages and leave line item, it's only at 73%. And the reason for that is we do not have a fourth full-time employee for the winter, and we're doing a fourth man as a part-time guy now. Well, I think he's being employed fairly steadily. But there's 8% savings so far. And my intent at the front end of this year was not to allocate every stinking thing that seemed like snow and ice to snow and ice, but eat it in the budget if we could. But our fourth man was, by the insistence of the accountant, paid out of snow and ice, even though there was money in the budget. I want to make sure that money doesn't get spent, because I'm counting on $24,000 snow and ice, and you're counting on it for a tax rate. We've got 8% of that 150,000 is 12,000. So instead of 40, 41, 42,000, we're down to 30. I still need to find $6,000 worth of savings in the highway budget. Savings being, money not expended. Now one way you could have me go through the snow and ice expenditures and identify anything that was maybe a little bit
Borderline.
Yeah. So for instance, I don't know this, but if November 1st we filled up a diesel tank under snow and ice, and then we didn't owe in middle of May a full diesel tank, shouldn't have come out of snow and ice, because we'd be basically using snow and ice money to buy oil that we burned prior to the and after. So looking for, I guess, some approval by the select board to dig down into this. And I'll stop there, but I've got more. But this just has to do with the highway department and the snow and ice budget. I think the accountant is expecting some kind of memo out of me telling her to move money from here to there and such. But that's the situation we're in. We modeled it at 24,000. What I see in that report from simple extrapolation is we've got about 12,000 that we could secure against snow and ice. I was expecting more. I had a discussion with Lewis, our DOT guy, about a $34,000 pothole grant. And I was hoping I'd have the final documents for the contract in front of you today, because he said he'd sent them to Larry last week. But most of these highway things, they say they send them and we see them a few weeks later, so I'm not that alarmed. We're going to be able to use some of that money to pay our highway department to do pothole repair, guardrail rail repair, pavement, and they've agreed that we can do some graveling, catch basin clean out, culvert clean out. And with Brian working part-time and his knowledge of the fire truck, that's really handy to shoot water through the culverts to clean them out. They're not going to permit us to use this money in a scattershot approach. Larry and I have got to come up with, we're going to gravel X, Y, and Z roads, we're going to clean out all the culverts. No, it's not a matter of hitting the worst spots, but they want some complete work done. I came home from Greenfield today over the Northfield Road and could see that a lot of patch could be put on that. And that grant runs for through August, so we'll split it the 2 years. So that's part of my plan to make the budget come true from what I modeled it, and that's the situation there.
I move that David be directed to take into consideration the expenses that would normally go under highway expense, highway wages and leave, that are actually related to snow removal and building as such. Is that okay?
It's a little more specific than I was looking for.
I got lost, so.
Can
Was
I
that audio
suggest,
recording?
can I suggest something
What would you
instead? Just that the select board supports reallocating funds from the regular highway budget to snow and ice wherever possible, and use of grant money. To
Okay.
accomplish.
Can you say that again? No, I don't.
Probably not.
I moved at the select board direct.
Yeah, I got the direct David Young part, but then he said it different, so. Two,
To
See, this is the problem when I don't listen to myself.
allocate
Yeah, to reallocate
yeah.
funds
Mhm.
to snow and ice.
from the regular budget
From regular highway budget, yeah, that was a lot easier than
to
when you
reduce
went.
the snow and ice deficit.
To reduce snow and ice deficit, okay, that has the same meaning, but finally okay, it makes sense, yeah,
Have a second.
okay.
Yes.
Any further discussion?
I think we've discussed this as much as it needs to be.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And then the other thing I would think that as our budgets are gonna tighten up, you look at excess capacity over time, our savings over time, thanks to this latest town meeting, things are gonna get tighter, and we may want to exercise a little more control over warrant article spending, see it justified rather than just see it here after it's an accomplished fact and you sign off. And I would just note that the fact that something is voted by town meeting, raised and appropriated, means we have to tax. But it really is under the select board discretion whether the money gets spent or not. That applies to everything except the schools. We get a school bill, we pay it, but you know, everything else. And you'll see towns that are in financial straits, you know, doing exactly this, huddling everybody up and saying, hey, we're gonna have to make cuts, and we're not there yet, but our situation is changing drastically.
I know.
The trajectory is not good.
It's a slippery slope.
Thank you, David.
We're slightly bad.
Should that last word in that motion be reduce snow and ice budget or deficit?
Deficit.
Okay, Bill Lyman, regarding recording meetings.
Madam Chairman,
From my-
I would like to disclose I'm recording Bill right now.
Excellent. Dear Select Board members, I'm here today asking for your board's vote of sanction for the project of recording our town's open meetings. I'm looking for your individual vote as publicly elected officials, as representatives of the people of Warwick who have elected you to uphold Massachusetts open meeting law and its definition and its intent, disclosure to the public about this board's deliberations and actions. I am the beginning of hopefully many residents to record your meetings, as is our right. I am seeking your board's sanction so that others following me are accepted graciously and without prejudice, as some may be students and all will be concerned citizens actively involved in the democratic process. Please, if you would, speak on record in favor of this action as elected officials. This is what you are, especially in session. Please take a vote on this action and verbally state your position. I appreciate your efforts in this matter, as do your constituents. Thank you.
Am I allowed to keep that?
I would just note that this was voted down at the town meeting, and so I respect the vote of the town meeting.
Yeah, you can't override the town, think we?
Well, $2,000 was turned down at the town
No,
meeting.
the
The
town-
concept was not.
Yes, it was,
Concept
the whole
was-
thing was.
It was.
That's what they did.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
I would point out though that it is legal, provided that one discloses, to tape or to record a meeting. And with or without sanction, it can continue. So I just don't understand, Bill, why you're looking for this, to try to force a stand by the select board on it. It's your right. And tomorrow, when Kinder Morgan presents, they can get up and walk out if they don't like it. But as long as it's disclosed that it's being taped, being recorded, the law is met. And in fact, you know, judges can say, I want no cameras in my courtroom, I want no cell phones, I want no recording devices. Open meeting law doesn't permit that. And it's possible that just sanctioned or not sanctioned by the Board of Selectmen, that the practice of recording could have a chilling effect on citizen participation. I've seen it in my life where people just didn't like going on AOTV and playing the whole thing out in public. So, no, there's upside or downside, but it's the law. You can record, just don't be a sneak.
Dave, do you think the vote was a vote against having somebody here making recordings,
I think it could have
as
done a lot of
opposed
things.
to a vote against costs? I remember-
I think it was a compilation of both. You know, you can vote with, John and I can agree and vote the same way for entirely different reasons on almost anything. So it's just a parlor exercise to try and figure out what the
The
intent
way I
was.
took it, the town voted is they didn't want to bother with it.
They didn't want to bother.
They didn't want to spend money for it, they didn't want to. They figured you could go to a meeting, the meetings are public. You can't, the only thing you can't go is executive session.
Yes, Bill.
Madam Chairman, that was on video recording with a $2,000 budget. This is a citizens initiative, and my question to each individual board member is, do you support the intent behind open meeting of disclosing what this board does to the public?
May I speak?
Yes.
I support it completely. However, I think you will find there are a lot of people in town who would rather not be recorded because they're afraid they will say the wrong thing and it will get picked up in a sound bite and everybody will be repeating it all over the state.
That was the feeling I got from it.
And
What the comments were.
that was my impression about why people didn't vote for it. I think you should go ahead and make your sound recordings, but the rest of it,
As long as
I
you
think
mention
it's
it
for
when you come
future.
into the meeting, there's nothing anybody can do.
for future consideration, okay?
I appreciate that comment. Thank you.
You know, I think the whole idea is a good idea unless it turns out that Patricia is right, that people will be intimidated. Then it hurts the democratic process. If people will be intimidated by the idea of getting a video recording of what they say. Some people, there's a lot of people who simply don't like to be televised, and that this comes into that category. And then it's actually hurting the democratic process. I mean, I haven't really thought about this before, but it seems to me that's true. It seems to me that you should be encouraged to do an experiment. Because maybe it's a good idea, and maybe it's a bad idea, but we don't know because nobody's tried it here.
That was why I set it up as a pilot program.
I'm sorry?
That was why I suggested a pilot program for that
Well,
article
we had a pilot program
that got
turned
voted
down, but it was
I know.
turned down because of $2,000, or maybe it was turned down because
I don't believe the
For
money.
whatever
I think
people
it
don't
was-
like being
it was for
videotaped.
both.
I don't know.
It was
Reasons.
turned down for whatever reason, and that's all that
Money
matters.
didn't seem to matter much
No,
at that
I
meeting.
mean, they just got done giving the school how much money and it didn't pay. So,
Yeah, but if it was turned down
yeah, but, I mean,
for money reasons, then Bill ought to be, if that was the primary reason, then Bill ought to be encouraged to do an experiment at private cost.
We have no way of knowing
Knowing
that.
That's right.
However, Bill has a perfect right to do an experiment.
Yeah.
And I actually support his doing the experiment because I think it's a worthwhile exercise.
I'm not positive, but I think Mass General
Well-
Law says that a citizen with notice
Would you make that into a
make an
motion?
audio recording.
I think he wanted each of us to make a campaign speech, actually. Was that the case?
No, it's not, and this, again, the reason I framed it in the elected official thing is this board may not, stay the same, and even if it does have the same people in it, you're gonna reorganize to a certain extent. Future boards, it seems to me a position of a governmental board.
So, Bill, you would like a motion?
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, I move that we encourage Bill to record our meetings and do a pilot project on his own about how to deal with it.
Mention the funding.
Is this video, audio,
There can't
or?
be any funding.
This is just audio recording.
Yeah.
I am very aware that some people are, hoping that this doesn't end up being something that people are nervous about. That's not my intent.
I don't know.
Second.
TV, I don't know.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Is that a starter?
That's great, thank you. I appreciate your honesty.
Okay. Strategy for surplus property, sale of the fire truck and highway truck.
The main thing is, I wanna get this done before July 1, because then it becomes funding available to us for FY16. I kinda laid it out in my report. Anybody got any druthers? To me, the best way to sell the highway truck is to another town and a highway department. And,
I thought everything you said in that made perfect sense.
what's that?
That truck's junk, right?
It's, our junk is better than some town's front line piece.
Yeah, you got the truth there.
No, it really isn't.
I remember one of those trucks, stuff they took out of that junkyard.
That's because, just curiosity, is that because our repair work is better than everybody else's?
No, it's because our maintenance standards are pretty high, and because we don't run our highway department with junk equipment. We run our fire department with junk equipment, that they do a fine job of keeping going. I mean, our outgoing highway truck is kind of like most of our fire trucks, aged, worn, really not what we want, but better than nothing. And there are plenty of towns in Massachusetts that spend a great deal more of a percentage of their budget on maintenance and repair and repair and repair and repair. A couple neighboring towns here, not too far away, at some points have half their equipment inoperable by the time the winter's over. And I won't name them, but they might be candidates for this equipment.
Do you need an actual directive?
I don't think so, except that if I strike, an eBay sale or a best offer sale to on Craigslist or something, that, as long as we want to let this stuff fly and get as much for it, but market forces will determine. A municipal sale does not require any bidding or anything, so that I want to double back to the board with my evidence and say, this plow, sander, truck would bring us this much money for scrap, and I've negotiated, this, and here's some comparable sales in the world of a similar piece. Do you approve selling this to the town of X for, Y dollars? Because that's the downside with a municipal sale, is it's not governed by procurement, but somebody, the select board, needs to approve the dollar amount.
And you do want from us an approved alternative of selling on eBay. Yes?
I don't really need that. You've surplused it, and that's a legal way. I mean, I sold the GMC ton truck for scary money. I was like watching that auction going, please don't bid any higher. This thing is,
That was a toilet.
yeah, I mean, I put in the listing. We consider this truck a time bomb. You might be able to drive it home, and it still went for like $5,800 to a guy near Rochester, New York.
Wow.
Hope he didn't try to drive it home.
He did.
Well,
He
you
drove it all the
know,
way to
it
Rochester.
seems to me that given David's track record with this kind of thing, we should just tell him to use his best judgment.
Yeah, I agree.
Bill has something.
I just had a
We're,
question.
we're authorizing eBay, use of eBay though, right?
Either that or Craigslist, whichever.
Whatever.
Probably makes a difference because you're an authorized, recognized seller for eBay, and Craigslist doesn't do that, does it?
No, but Craigslist is a better probably venue for local sales, so.
Uh-huh.
Whichever is more effective.
Bill
Yeah.
has something he desperately
Yeah,
wants to
I
say.
do have a question. It's my recollection that that may have been discussed and permission given to the fire chief to get rid of the fire truck as surplus equipment in the past, and I'm not positive of that. Is that the case? And I'm not even sure there's a conflict of interest because I think they just want it gone.
It's
But
town property, it's not, it's town property.
okay, but I didn't
The
know
only-
if that was.
The question there was, did that thing come from the state for, fire pool, and no, it in fact
No,
came from
urban.
another town.
Right.
So, and I've got that cleared up with Phil.
Okay.
So-
Well,
And that truck, just for disclosure, is probably going for parts or scrap. The fire department's gonna take anything they can use off of it. And then if we can make it roll again, it'll be a truck, and otherwise it'll be scrap metal or parts to a farmer or something. who's gonna
Not
support it.
speaking for the department, but most likely it will still be movable. The big problems with it are the springs and the pump system. So I think it'll probably do fairly well for somebody if they have a farm or something.
We're thinking we might wanna keep the steering tires on it, in which case we put some ball tires on it. It wouldn't work on a truck that we have now in the current station, but in a station with a taller garage door,
You can
it
get
could go.
rejected caps from Pete for low or nothing.
Find them on the side of the road, man.
Yeah, go up Old Winchester Road and get it there.
Don't say that.
You
For
can't.
public- For
Yeah,
public consumption, it will only encourage them.
It's ridiculous.
This Saturday, we picked up more than 10 televisions, 13 mattresses and box springs. I have no idea how many tires.
Funny how they made sure they got just only the orange lined.
Were those in addition to the ones at the town line?
Are we finished with that?
Yes.
Okay, meetings for tomorrow. The Pioneer Technology meeting?
Yes, I've got Jim, Bill, John, and I going. It is posted as a select board meeting, or if a quorum wishes to show, but it's committee work, and I think they've got a sense there's some explaining to do and some compromising. I found Reva's email in the middle of all this that Windows 8 is a bad move. I'm gonna take the tack that, yeah, Berniston's got Macs. The high school, sure, you should have 20 Windows 8 computers. Somebody's gotta learn that system, but, don't go all in on Windows 8 at $700 to $760 a piece.
Will this meeting be only Warwick and the district or other towns also?
There were about 40 people on the email distribution list.
Okay.
So I got a feeling we'll see a couple of our friends from Berniston there. But they're looking to us to shake the tree and figure out what's going on.
Do you need select board support?
Your call, I, not necessarily, though. You've got a tech background if you wanted to come.
Okay,
No foul.
I'll think about it.
Okay.
I have a meeting, so I can.
I know that a couple of people are coming directly from work to it. So if you want to go, give me a call.
Okay. And the Kinder Morgan meeting tomorrow night, 7?
7 o'clock. Yes.
Are you going to run that?
Yes.
Do you want,
I want my gavel.
you want your gavel? Do you want a microphone?
She
I think if
needs
you
one.
use,
I think you
She
should
gets
have it.
timid when she gets yelled at. You do. You never used to, but all of a sudden you do. Toughen up.
Did you used to pull her grapes?
Excuse me?
Did you used to pull her grapes?
I don't believe so.
Never had one. Okay.
She's younger than I am. No? Now she's fit. She's thinking about getting raised.
I guess the microphone will be on.
okay.
Steve said that he expects a lot of pushback. My plan is to just, in the beginning, say, this is an informational meeting only, and if you have any other purpose in mind, perhaps you might want to leave now. And that each speaker will respect the other, and one person at a time to speak when called upon.
I saw an email from a resident who said that the meeting needed to be considerably longer, that they can't be allowed to make statements without being unchallenged, blah, 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 blah. So I think there's a possibility a few people may get arrested before the night's over, and I think that might be their intention. One thought that occurs to me is that rather than have people stand up and ask questions in a disorganized way, that maybe we ask people to write their questions down, and a couple of people could actually sit with them, and you may get sort of the same question from a number of people, but
Organize them.
organize them and prioritize the questions.
Did you not send a list of questions?
Yes, I did, but the two pieces of lore I'm hearing are, one, they're recycling the same presentation everywhere they go, that they have not taken our questions necessarily, or anybody's, and worked them into their PowerPoint presentation. And the second one is, they won't show up. They always cancel.
I had a call from the recorder this morning, and I was probably too honest, I did say that.
It seems to me there ought to be some mechanism for questions to what they have to say. And if we allowed that to be put in the Q&A period, it would immediately occupy the whole Q&A period. Nobody else would get to say anything else, so that's not good. But I wonder if they could make some kind of commitment to answering written questions raised by their presentation.
So far, their commitment is they're coming here for 1 hour to give a presentation and answer questions, and at 8 o'clock they're leaving. That's their commitment.
Well, I think I will announce that in the beginning, that time is very limited, so please be careful not to
Yeah.
ask the
So
same
does it make
question.
sense to say all questions need to be in writing, and Nick and Patricia can
No,
sort through
I'm
them?
talking about ones related to the presentation, so that they could be
I
put
would
in a
be-
But
different
there's gonna be a
category.
half hour. It's gonna be so easy to squander that time.
Yeah.
They're gonna be here for a half hour of question and answer. One
We're only
half
keeping
hour.
that whole hour.
If you waste it talking about the shape of the table, or who gets to talk first, or allowing
No, that's
powder
not,
puff
I'm sorry,
questions.
that's not what I'm saying. I understand that it would squander time. What I'm saying is that can we get something from them saying, maybe you can just ask them at the meeting's beginning or something.
Maybe at 8 o'clock you
that-
say something about, well, there's been a lot more questions, how would you like to handle answering these?
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Because I mean, there was, believe it or not, a debate about whether we should even share our questions with them in advance. And that,
That would give them a format, I mean,
I know, but
Just set 'em
but
up
this
with
thing
an
is so polarized that, you know, we can't let them get away with making any statements that aren't factual. They've got to be called out right away. I'm hearing that. That's what we're going to be facing very likely tomorrow night. And this is they have come to town and we're doing this on their terms. It's not the meeting a lot of people want, so book the town hall and have your meeting to talk about what bad guys they are and how sleazy they are and all the questions they didn't answer and spend 10 hours, making statements of opinions. That's fine. I don't have to go to that meeting. Or maybe I do. You'll let me know.
You do. Okay.
Any select
Water board me.
reports?
No, I have a meeting on Thursday that I can report on next time.
Okay.
There are going to be some hearings around the county from the FRTA. So anybody who has ideas about transportation, public transportation, should think about them and let me know.
Anything, Nick?
Pardon?
Do you have anything?
I guess this comes into select board reports as well as anything. I was fascinated by what you had to say about getting out of the school district and about Bernardston getting out of the school district. And where do we go from here? One of the questions I have is, do we look at talking with Bernardston and having a mini school district with them? I don't know whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. Maybe we ought to talk with them about it. And the question about the school here and what its economics looks like without the school board. Given that it's only 40 kids and something with a capacity of 125, it could be real trouble trying to do it on our own. I don't know. But
Yeah. Well, I think there might be some value in asking the question.
We wouldn't be able to get out of
you
the
might
whole
get their
district.
attention, especially with two towns.
Just
We
the
have to
initial.
stay in the high school.
Yeah.
So in terms of next steps, I would think that this Bernardston and Warwick would have all the same questions as to what's it mean to get out and what's it mean for local aid. Local aid was used as a carrot to get towns to go into districts. There might be some ugliness financially that we need to know about and discover. So maybe beginning to meet with Bernardston on the subject of getting out of the district and not so much moving forward. And I proposed two models, and one of them
two wishes, I'm sorry.
to get out of the district, and one of my models was, and then employ a cannibalistic model, become the best elementary school within miles and get school choice kids and fill that school, because we've got the best teachers and the best curriculum and a very nice facility, and you get, and our district has, over the last 10 years, been highly successful at this. They eat Greenfield's lunch, but as the budgets dwindle and such, that's gotten harder and harder, and that competitive advantage hasn't been maintained. And maybe that's because we're not chumming the water with enough money, so that we don't look as good. I don't know. but it's really that become exemplary and cannibalize off other districts is it's a difficult business plan, because we don't have any money to risk.
Yeah.
And I can't see successfully pitching it to any kind of private grant outfit because of what it is. You know, it's not a pilot project that Warwick is successful. Now we can take this out into the world. It really is a
Right.
lifeboat, zero-sum game kind of approach. But I think that one has merit. And
I also
Well,
think
it's fascinating,
worthwhile.
but very difficult to even think about carrying out.
I also think it's worth looking into ways that we can support parents who have to work and don't have adequate childcare,
Mhm.
because that's something that building could host. It would certainly take some investment, but
The best way to make money is to cater to the 1%. And that may not be what we're interested in doing.
well, the second best might be to cater to the 99%. And I can tell you, the academic calendar doesn't work very good for working parents when there's school gets out at 1 o'clock on Friday, and vacations and holidays. You know, kids get more vacations than the average parent does.
Mhm.
And so, you know, structuring a school that was responsive to that would be one more thing that could make Warwick Elementary School attractive because of early and late, you know, it might not be formal classrooms, but there might be activities that kept the kids around until kids got home, until parents could get back and pick them up. So, sure worth looking at, I think.
I agree.
But again, what is the answer to my question? What's the next step?
Call up Burniston and let's start talking about what it means to get out of the district.
Okay. Anybody have any questions about the coordinator's report?
I would just note that I'll be running the dump next Saturday because George needs the day off. So I took today off to make up for that. But I've got 9 vacation days I need to take or lose by July 1. So I'm just be taking a day here and a day there.
started.
Just let us know. Okay. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor? Aye.
I guess I didn't.
If anybody's interested.
has
Friday,
everybody here met both Rosa and Nancy?
I've met Nancy.
Hi.
You ever meet Rosa?
Patricia asked me, called me on the phone, and asked me if I would show up. I don't know what, I mean, I didn't realize that.
We don't usually have that many people here, and I'm sorry, I would have preferred Friday, but if you can't do Friday, then I figured this was better than nothing.
Right, yeah. You know, Friday, unfortunately, I have to work, so, but, I mean,
Do you have an email address?